This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the North Haven Board of Education to order on Thursday, September 12th at 6:30 p.m. I'd like to start a couple of things. Here is two things. I'd like to recognize Amanda Gabrielle for receiving the Beacon Award.
Yes,
Their mission statement of the Beacon Award recognizes a few of the outstanding individuals who selflessly step up to help fulfill the Shoreline community's promise as a place of opportunity, well-being, and safety for all. We're all very proud of you, Anne, for all the work you do here, so thank you on that.
and she was the only one from North Haven
Great.
this year.
Great.
Congratulations.
Way to represent.
And I also would like to congratulate Dr. O'Brien on the birth of his first grandchild. And mom, dad, baby, and brothers are doing well. Okay, first on our agenda is our consent agenda. We have the August 8th, 2019 minutes, and then we also have the resignation of Leslie Bazwali, our special ed teacher at the middle school, and Ann Sagnella, our kindergarten teacher at Ridge Road School. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second? Any discussion on any of that? Any questions on the meeting minutes? I'm going to abstain from that because I wasn't here on August 8th. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And I'm going to just abstain because I wasn't here for that meeting. Next, we have our Board of Education reports. Zoe, how's everything? Welcome back to school.
Thanks. Everything's going well. Everyone's, just settling in. The chalk walk that I mentioned last time went well. It was a success. So far right now, we have open house that is next Wednesday, which is the 18th. We are everyone in class is starting their student elections and painting and getting that all together. Fall sports are starting, first football game Friday. And also we have our senior college meetings that have just started today where we're meeting with our counselors and, talking about, the college application process and things like that. So yeah, everything's getting started.
Great. I wish you the best this year. I know
Thank you.
Yeah,
savor it.
I don't have much to go on. I put Amanda first, but I just want to say welcome to everyone. I know that the district has been working very hard over the summer. Welcome, Jen Stewart, to us. I've worked a lot over the summer with Patrick and Melinda to go over a lot of things, and Pam on the budget. And I have to say, we're in great shape. I think school got off very well. Of course, every year there's always that hitch or two with the bus schedules and changing classes. But all in all, I have to say it was a great year, a great start to the school year. So thank you for that, Patrick.
Thank you.
Any unfinished business that anyone wants to bring up from last month? Okay, is there any new business anyone would like to bring up? Okay, then we'll go on to the reports of the standing committee.
ACES, like a lot of organizations, had their first meeting today. They gave us the annual report. Their big news is that they're in their new buildings, one on Leader Hill and one on what we know as the old Orchard Hill Gateway. It's the Wintergreen Magnet, and it's an arts slant. And the thing that I think about Leader Hill that kind of surprised me is the project, which was a renovation. I think it was, it was $78 million. The extensive renovations. It came in on time and $14 million under budget.
What?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
the
amazing.
coordination they did to get that, because they moved the buildings from Skiff to Leader Hill. So they were moving 5 buildings, including Wintergreen Magnet. The staff, the people they hired to move and the administrative team did a great job. And I didn't bring it with me, but the pictures of inside, they have a swimming pool, they have an exercise room. They're moving their auto shop down there. I mean, it's really very nice. And of course, that for residents, it's nice because now it's not the traffic of the buses twice a day. And the fact that the thing that was difficult was east and west were in separate buildings, and then students who had mobility issues that were in wheelchairs, especially in the wintertime, would have to leave the building and go to the other building for services. So this has them all together, and they're partnering with Whitney Center, which I found out has a lot of retired teachers. So they're looking good. So, and that was their big news.
Thank you. Curriculum instruction plan?
Curriculum and instruction and planning met earlier tonight. We had one agenda item, primarily the discussion of the field trip to Toronto. We recommend for approval the field trip. We would like to recommend it sooner rather than later because of the logistics of getting passports and so on in order. And we discuss, and also so that we can get underway with a robust fundraising effort as well. And that's it. We talked about some of our future meeting dates as well. So that's an action item. I don't know, do we entertain it now?
And can I just say one thing? They are working to have a passport fair
Right.
if this goes through for the students and their families to help expedite some of that. There was one in town this past Saturday, but we didn't feel comfortable promoting that until it came through the board because we thought we wouldn't want people to have that expense if then this trip didn't move forward. So they've done some work in asking the post office to assist them in having another one.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the North Haven High School's music?
I just wanted to mention a couple things.
Can we go under discussion?
Under discussion, sure, yeah.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the North Haven High School Music Department field trip to Toronto, Canada? We don't have a date?
We do.
Yeah.
It is the 23rd through the 26th of April.
23rd through 26th, right? Okay, so may I have the motion?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Jen?
Yeah. I definitely am in favor of going because all the kids already knew about it ahead of time. But I'd like us to take a serious look at international field trips for kids that are younger and moving forward. I feel like, well, I know that if a student is with a parent, with a situation where they may not have, let me go back and rewind this whole thing, start again. Okay, so it's very difficult with new regulations to get your passport if you have a parent who isn't around but is on your birth certificate. If your parent isn't around and there is no formal custody agreement, you're not able to get a passport. You have to have if there's a formal custody arrangement and one parent has full custody, there is no issue. But let's say you have a parent that's on your birth certificate that just took off and there is no formal custody agreement and you happen to be living, full-time with somebody, you're unable to get a passport without finding that person and tracking them down. And I sort of feel like it just is another reminder to somebody who's already having a rough time, here's something else that's going to be difficult for you. My other concern is for undocumented students. So that's another concern that I have. It isn't as much of an issue when kids are older than 16. It's primarily when it's the 14, 15-year-old, the regulations are a little bit more stringent for those 14 and 15-year-old kids. That part of it is what makes me a little bit concerned, is that you have someone who's vulnerable already, and this is something that's very difficult for them, and it may be something that can't be solved at this point in time, and then you miss out on something that everybody else is able to participate in. So I think that moving forward, we just have to be cognizant of those things, because these regulations weren't around the first time the kids went to Toronto
Yeah.
about 6 or 7 years ago. But now those regulations are in place, and I would just like to be cognizant of all of our different types of families that we have moving forward.
And I guess my other question is, for kids who can't afford it, I know it's a bus trip, et cetera, we're going to be working for them and letting them know that there are scholarships or other things available to help out in addition to the fundraising.
We met with Ken and Sarah and Russ actually around all of these concerns, and even the traveling out of the country. And that's why we moved this one. Typically, we'll do all the rest of the field trips together, hopefully in October, but we didn't want to hold this one up either way. And we talked out other options that are in the States and not international as well. So we put out all of the concerns to them. Thank you for raising them.
Yeah, that was great. And they did mention to the kids about the Passport Fair on Saturday. They just, in passing.
Right.
And a bunch of kids were able to get them at the library or apply for them on Saturday, so that was great. But to have that and have a parent meeting, got people waiting, chomping at the bit to do a 503C, to get the music department a 503C so that they can then get corporate sponsors. And I think there's, even to have like a fundraiser at Panera where X number of dollars, has to be a 503C. They'll only work with that. So if we have a parent meeting where parents are able to, you can look around and find each other.
Are we a 5? No.
So, but there is an application process, and there's somebody that I know that just recently went through it to get a booster club started for her child's other sports, so she's willing to do the work. So that would be awesome. We could figure that out at a parent meeting. So this was, I think, the most thorough band trip application.
Absolutely. We said that we need every detail. I cannot be guessing about this.
No, it was the most thorough one I've ever seen, so awesome.
Yep, we sat for a long time, and we kept sending it back. I'm like, I need a little more, I need a little more.
Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, good for them. They'll enjoy it and they'll come back winners again. Next will be finance and operations. We did not have a meeting today. Is there anything, Pam, that you want to talk about now, or you want to just wait till we get onto your point?
Wait till the report,
Okay, very
thanks.
good. Middle School Building Committee, especially an update on the floor.
Yeah, so
Wanna take it?
Patrick has the most recent update. I guess you'll talk about it when it gets to your report. So he just told me that the main gym is ready, the auxiliary is not. I know I spoke with Gary the other day.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
He said Patrick just gave me an update. He said the main gym is ready, auxiliary is not. I spoke with Gary John the other day. There's no definite, he told me there was no set time yet. That the contractor is still going through the process of trying to have it ready as soon as possible. But Patrick did provide me a date. You said it's October when?
1st of October, everything will be done.
Everything, both of them will be done. So that's the major thing that's been completed right now. Outside that is just paying bills. There was the fencing for the turf field. They reduced it. I think they said there was complaints about it being too high. So they approved the contract for it to be reduced slightly. And the commissioning of the building is pretty much completed. We've received about 85% of the state reimbursements already. Gary also said if we wanted him to, I know it was mentioned, I think our meeting in June or July, or I think in June, that we should invite him. So he said he's available for the October meeting.
Okay,
If you
that
want
would
him to come
actually
in
be a
and
good
ask him.
idea, 'cause we
Yeah,
have some other things going on.
Yeah, so he's available for that, so if Patrick can send him an invite or something like that. And then the next meeting is Monday at 8:15. So right now, it's more reviewing the invoices, approving the invoice. Even the meeting for Monday is scheduled for about 15-20 minutes just to sign off on invoices, so it's very informal.
So the fences, I'm a little, who said that they were too high?
So there was complaints that it was too high.
But
and
wasn't
that-
that part of the specs?
I don't remember exactly if it was part of the specs or it was something that was just done based on industry standard, that this is how high the fence, should be, but
These are the ones that are in place already?
yes, to reduce it, the
So who's
height.
going to, where's that money gonna come from?
No, the committee is paying for it. They sign up on the contract to reduce it.
Can we send the existing ones to the border and get some money back?
That's out of my jurisdiction.
I'm just trying to
so-
understand, and I can call Gary, but we have the fences in there now.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be taken out,
So my assumption is that it's going to be replaced.
but do we have to pay for that replacement?
The committee is paying for it.
When you say
not
the
district.
committee, you mean the committee out of their personal account?
Yeah, it's not because they approved the contract to have it reduced. So it's not the school district that's paying for it.
It was my understanding they were actually cutting it down. I was at the last meeting, just reducing it, which has happened to me in other districts, and they're going to, I believe, put a cap there so that,
Okay.
there won't be anything sticking up. And yes, to your point, it is coming out of the building committee.
Their budget.
Funds.
Yeah, because they approved in their minutes, they approved the,
Now, I guess I was just, we're always looking to fund different things in the middle school that were
Yeah.
part of the ed specs. I was just wondering where, will we get money back, et cetera, that's all.
May I ask, how much are they cutting the fence?
I honestly don't recall. Goldie.
I don't remember,
No.
it's like I was looking at the minutes the other day, because I didn't attend that specific meeting, but it was a slight reduction. The contract amount is just over 5,000, so it's not that, I don't assume it's that.
Call it.
5 feet to 4
Sorry?
5 feet to 4 feet.
So just a feet difference, yeah.
Why, though?
Well, I mean, my question is because I was walking the track until I stopped, and when it got hot,
There's cookies
I
over
mean, the
there.
thing is, yeah, those are candy. But the thing is, the fact of the 5-foot fence, once in a while, you'd see kids hop the fence and be on the field. If you're cutting it down another foot, we're gonna have more students hopping the fence.
We don't want them to hurt themselves hopping the fence.
No, well, no, we don't, and we don't want them damaging the field either. That's what I'm confused about.
Yeah, I just don't understand what,
I was in the same boat until I
I think
spoke
I
with him.
understand
He
it.
said people were complaining about.
Because they're standing, because there's no bleachers for them to be sitting on outside of what we have in there. So peer spectators are standing and they can't see over the
So-
Line of
fence.
sight.
That's what it is. There's no line of sight. Is that the right word? Phrase? That's probably why they moved it.
And
Okay.
this was $5,000?
Just over, slightly over.
Just over,
five,
okay.
yeah.
buy a lot of soap operas.
So that's it, next meeting is Monday, 8:15.
North Haven Education Foundation?
Just before I get into that, since we've just been talking about the middle school had its open house on Monday, and I was there, and it's just nice to kind of go there and see people who have not been in there. There's kids are in there for the first time. Everybody talks about how nice of a building is. And then you have some teachers, my son has some teachers that are new to the district, and they talk about how nice it is and how lucky we are to have the building and the facilities that we have. So I just wanted to throw that out there,
Absolutely.
that everybody who comes into that building is continuously impressed by it. So I think it's something that everybody in town can be proud of, that
Absolutely.
the work that's been done and that what we've provided for our students. As far as the Ed Foundation, there was a meeting yesterday. Couple things were discussed, but really the chunk of the meeting was focused on college preparatory type, I don't know if course or seminar, I forget the word that was used, but there's been a couple of different ideas that are floating around. It's still in the talking stage, but basically what the thought is that the Education Foundation is going to do something most likely in the spring that's kind of geared towards families and kind of helping people get an idea as to not so much starting early in college shopping or looking at colleges, but just kind of getting involved and learning about the process, learning about aid and options and all that sort of stuff, and just kind of getting a better
That
foundation.
we do that
for
as a
people.
district at the high school.
Yeah.
We do.
Um,
And Rebecca Carr, our coordinator for guidance, is going to present to the Ed Foundation next month, so
Yeah.
they know some of the
Okay,
things
great.
that.
Then we can work together on that.
Yeah, and I thought I saw something that, doesn't she have like a paying for college seminar or
Yes.
something that she's
Yeah.
doing coming up as
They do.
well, right?
Yes, they
Yeah.
do.
The other thing, when you talk with the Education Foundation, or I mean, maybe that's something I could bring to them too, is right now you see so much more, we have the college, which is just as important, but also looking at some of the secondary schools, financial aid for the secondary schools for the trades. If you want to become an electrician, you want to become an auto mechanic or whatever, I think that's a really good idea. Because that costs money too for people. And that might also be something that we could put in there, and also maybe even support a lot of the students who are not going to go on to college, but want to go on to a secondary education in the trades.
And that was one of the trades were actually one of the things that were spoken about
Good.
during the meeting yesterday, as far as when something happens in the spring, at least, extending invitations and making that a part of the.
Right,
Yeah.
but thank you.
Was Rebecca coming to talk to the board? I couldn't, yeah.
November.
November, okay.
Okay, anything else? Thanks. Policies, Mr. Stirk.
So policy met earlier tonight. We actually made a lot of progress. We finished up reviewing our student discipline, as well as the administration of student medications and confidentiality and access to educational records. So we will be moving those three and a couple others forward to the board next month for the first read. But tonight, we also would like to move forward with the approval of policy 4112.5, the security check and fingerprinting, and the approval of policy 4112.52/4212.54, which is the criminal history record information. It was a first read last month, and we're keeping up with the state statutes and updating the policy. So if the board chooses to move forward with them. that would be great.
May I have a motion to approve the security check and fingerprinting policy 4112.5 and the criminal history record information policy 4112.52/4212.54 policy.
52.
Any discussion? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, our last one is PTA Council.
We haven't met yet. We are meeting on September 23rd for our first meeting of the year.
Great, thank you.
I'm sorry, that just reminded me, I may have volunteered you as a liaison between the foundation and the PTA council to
I'm so
help
glad you
out.
did. Yeah, I'd love to.
Since you know all these accolades,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
gonna sign you
yeah.
up for everything.
Back
In
to
fact,
back.
we're all going to leave.
I mean, you know what, Joe, I think that was a good idea, because the success of that night is going to depend on the parents coming out
Yeah.
and learning. And I would say, it's just not for parents who have students that are juniors. I would say, start pushing, ninth grade, eighth, ninth grade, thinking of whether it be the trade or, a four-year school or somewhere in between.
What time is that PTA council meeting?
It's 7 o'clock at the rec center on 923.
It's 7 o'clock at the rec center?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the standing committee reports?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Just really quick from me on a discussion, and I don't know if I should add this on. If there's a committee that you're on and you want to look to doing something else, just give me a holler, and because I will be reviewing all the committees, et cetera, in October that we have, and just let me know if there's something else you want to do, or another committee you're thinking about that you might want to be on for the 2019-2020 year.
Are you a volunteerist?
Yeah. Yes, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain. Okay, motion passes.
Anita, I'm sorry, my memory is terrible tonight, but one other thing I forgot to mention is there's a trivia night at J. Ruse on October 22nd at 7 p.m. that the foundation is going to be doing. And it'll be, I'm not sure what J. Ruse calls it, it's like outside space that can be covered, like the patio or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's not going to be like in the bar area, so
Yeah,
it's
they have
family friendly.
one room, and then in the back, they have an area that they keep covered and that you can go into.
Are they looking for teams?
I don't know if they're looking for teams yet. I just know that they're, I really don't know, I'm sorry. During the meeting, I was distracted because I had a phone call I had to take, so in all candor, I was in and out of the
When you
meeting.
get a moment, just send it to us once you find it out, so that we can
Yeah.
support them any way that we can.
Absolutely.
Maybe we could have our administrative staff and teachers do a trivia teams.
Oh, we could be on the table. We got Zoe who does pop, she can do the pop culture. I'll do ancient history, somebody else can do sports.
I like ancient history. Okay, thank you. Let's go to your report, Mr. Sirk. Dr. Cronin, oh, that's the first time. I've been good about that.
Thank you, Anita. So good evening, everyone. I just want to start off by thanking all of our families for making the adjustment in their schedules this past Tuesday for the closing of school. I realize it was a late change, and we truly appreciate you making that adjustment. Goldie had started with the middle school gym floor. It's beautiful. It looks really great. We just put the NH on the middle of on the floor. It was last week, I think it went on. So I think students will be on next week, and the auxiliary part will be done by August. I keep saying August, October, beginning of October. So get a chance to swing by. It looks beautiful. Just want to say a few words about our security upgrades at our schools. We're looking to have a 3-year phase-in plan, which will update all our servers and provide upgrades to all of our schools as well. Although our schools are very safe and secure at this point, it is important to continually research the latest technology, talk with experts in the field, and keep up to date with the latest trends in security, so we can never be too safe in our schools. This year, we are developing an aligned pre-K through grade 12 focus on student success for life, learning, and the work beyond school. There's a planning team that was put together. It's comprised of board members, central office, and building administrators, teachers, parents from all levels. And part of this work is to develop a community vision. So yesterday evening, I sent an email out to the districts in hopes of getting folks' input on what are the most essential skills and attributes that every North Haven student will need to be successful in a highly dynamic and changing world. So families and community members will have the opportunity to contribute their ideas through this application called Thought Exchange. And the application provides users like an interactive way to share and build upon each other's ideas. I've also shared this info with Mr. Frieda in hopes that he can share with local businesses as well to get their input. But there's a copy next to the agenda on the front table of the letter I sent out last night if anybody has any interest, and you can, it has the information, you can log on to the Thought Exchange. Also in August, we held our administrative retreat, and the administrators did some really in-depth work around our own professional work behaviors. We discussed how certain behaviors can help us and how certain behaviors can put up barriers for us being successful in our work. So each of the administrators, along with Pam, Jen, Melinda, and I, completed a workplace inventory, and it was extremely telling, and it was very surprising for some of our results. It was great to talk through, and we're going to work on this throughout the year in hopes, change some of our behaviors and really become cognizant of some of the things we're doing in our buildings and in our work. That's my report for today.
Thank you. Ms. McKenna?
Okay, I just have a couple quick things. Our SBAC parent reports will be mailed out September 20th. So we got them at the end of last week, and then we send them to the schools, and the school that has the student currently in their building mails them home. So with the day off without students on Tuesday was a good opportunity for the secretaries to be able to work on some of that mailing. I also wanted to notify the board that Jen Stewart and I submitted a grant to the State Department for primary mental health. They're kind of open-ended grants, so I saw them come through at the end of August, so we took a crack at it. It focuses in on students K to 3. So we'll hear in the next couple of months if we receive any funding for that. And additionally, there was a second one that I saw that I submitted and wrote to offset summer school costs potentially and open it up for students for remediation next summer. Again, we don't know if we'll get any of these, but I feel like we have to take the time to do them and try. And then in the next month or so, of course, I'll write the consolidated grants as I always do, Title I, II, III, and IV. And lastly, I just want to recognize 2 of our high school teachers, Lisa Ball-Goodrich and Melissa Wong. They're both science teachers, and they had applied at the beginning of the summer and were selected to attend a work session in Washington, D.C. around the next generation science standards. And so they went over the summer break and brought back a whole bunch of really valuable information for the department that they've been sharing. So we're really grateful for their commitment and their eagerness to go during the summer.
Thank you. You had sent an email the other day about some scores that looked pretty good. I think can we talk about those?
We certainly can. So we received our SBAC scores last year, but just recently the state released a report of all the district scores, and within our DIRG for our SBAC scores, in ELA I believe we are 5th in our DIRG, and in math I believe we are tied for 7th in our DIRG out of 24 schools. So again, we are very consistent with our last year's performance, even up a little bit, and I think we're very successful.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to say for our teachers and administrators doing that we're able to move up a little bit and being in those positions.
Consistency is key.
Yep.
May I ask though? Oh, I don't want to be Dottie Downer, but
it's part of that ancient history.
But I'm always very concerned about the students that have consistently scored 1 and 2. Can we have, and not now, obviously, but at some future time, to take a look at, you know what, did we have students that were 2 moving to a 3?
And we have growth target data, actually. I don't have it with me here, and I don't think you do either, but we actually glanced a little bit at our growth target data too, which doesn't go into that DIRG piece to see if we're achieving some of the available points. I don't know how else to say it, to make movement. And we did show some nice growth, even a little better, if I recall, than we had the previous year. So we were really happy about that, because it's not always about making the 3 and 4. It's about the incremental growth.
Absolutely, absolutely. But also, you know, especially with the 3rd graders, you know, if you're doing remediation, if you have interventionists working, that's where you want to see the growth, you know, in language arts and some of the math, because it just gets harder, and if they get, you know, if you don't want 6th graders going in reading at a 3rd grade reading level, if at all possible. So I'd really like to
We'll share
track
some
some of
numbers
that.
next month with you. Sure.
Yeah, good, thank you.
I was impressed at how you're closing the gap between our DIRG and the much higher income DIRGs.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, Farmington, Madison, you're gaining on them, and it was pretty cool to see.
And even though we're 5th and 7th, we are within a couple percentage points of being, you know, in the top of our grade. So it's not that much difference.
So by next year, we'll be there.
Yeah.
What you're saying?
We'll keep growing, incremental increases.
Next year, this time, tied.
Always working towards it.
I just thought it was important to mention because we are
They're
doing
great.
well.
Very well. It's a lot of work.
Okay, Jen Stewart.
So I have a few things. First, the high school counseling department, Becca Carr sent home our first newsletter to staff, to families and students. There are college rep visits beginning September 16th, and there's right now 70 colleges set up that they come to the school. They come during the week, and then the kids can come sign up. There's a freshman parent seminar on September 25th that night at the high school. October 10th is the Pay for College seminar. And then there's the big college fair at the end of October at Oakdale. And then she also sent home, and Zoe, you talked about this, the information on planning for college with seniors. Patrick and I met with Mrs. Hatton at the end of, was it the end of August or the beginning of September? And we're gonna meet again to start planning events and workshops to help special education parents get involved and be knowledgeable of special education and like a support network. I started sending out my bi-monthly newsletter to my staff to really highlight department plans, legal updates, and like our student outcomes, which include the instruction and collaboration piece will be the focus this year. And preschool ECAT is up for accreditation, so we just started working on that, and it's due March 1st of 2020.
You're welcome. That just happened. How often do you have to do that?
They've changed the cycle. So they've changed the standards and the cycle now, so we happen to be on that new cycle.
How special.
Because they did just do that, right?
Yes. So they changed it.
That's great.
Jen, may I ask, with the NIAC accreditations, they also look at the physical environment
Of the building, yes.
of the building, yes. Is there anything that you may be a concern that isn't quite up to their standards?
In the playground.
The playground?
Yes, the playground.
Can I ask a question? The 70 college program you're talking about, is that for the entire student population or students with disabilities?
It's for the entire student population.
Okay, so there's nothing that's focused on students with disabilities as to transition and things like that?
So that would-
Within the whole events?
Right, so we do it through the IEP with their transition goals and objectives.
That's more individual?
That's individual, but students with disabilities do not get to go to the, when the colleges come, they just sign up, and it's really, it's small, it's in the college career conference room at the high school.
Okay, but it's not, the information is not solely focused on them as per transition and things like that, it's more of a general information?
It's general information, yes.
Okay.
Do you see that based on your work?
Yeah, I think because it's, a lot of high schools do that, specific transition nights where it's focused, because their needs are different.
Yeah.
So it's specialized, it's more focused on them. And the schools that typically go there are schools or colleges who have robust services and who do a lot of work around students with, you can invite community colleges, you can invite four-year universities. So it's different because the questions are different. Your typical admissions person will not be able to answer deep questions about services and things like that.
This is for everybody.
It's for everybody.
Yeah, so they won't be able to answer those kinds of questions. Yeah.
Maybe the two of you can talk, because Goldie, you run the, what is your
Last time
position
I
at
checked.
Southern? What did you say?
That's the last time I checked.
Yeah.
Like an
Tell
hour
him
ago.
he
Yeah, I can connect with her.
Yeah.
Okay,
He runs the
perfect.
code
Yeah.
aspect of his disability area of Southern.
Oh, okay.
Could just told me what you did instead of trying to.
Good job
Great.
explaining to her.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows what to do.
Just to create an awareness of that, because I bet they probably don't even know it exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That would be awesome to set up. I would love
You
to
can
see
have
something
Mrs.
like
Hatton
that.
help us as well.
Yes, please.
Yes.
That would be great.
We were thinking about that a lot, differentiation, labeling.
Great. Anything else?
No, I'm all set.
Great, thank you so much. Next, we'll go to Pam for finance and operations.
Sure. A couple of things I just wanted to share with the board. We did complete the educational finance system, that big state report I was talking about last month, and we did complete it early. I was very pleased, and I will credit Nancy Locke, our new accounting supervisor, who's been with us since I think early May. She was tremendous help. We've also completed a couple of other state reports that were required over the last couple of months, including minimum budget requirements, some out-of-district magnet transportation grants. So we're keeping on top of them, and we're filing everything in a timely manner. In addition, today I spent the day at a riveting conference in Hartford, and it was on the RFP training for our food service management company.
What's RFP?
The request for proposal, it's actually a bid process that we have to abide by, and we do have to do it before June 30th, and we will do it way before June 30th, but we are required because you're only allowed to have a one-year contract with your food service management company with 4 renewals. And I know there were some issues in the past with the previous bid, so I went to learn today because I've never done this before, and it was really a very helpful workshop. So I think we'll be okay. It's a lot of work. It's going to take a little bit of time, so we may not get to it until January or February, but we'll make certain that we're within a decent timeline, and we will need to put together a small committee and to evaluate the bids when they come in, but stay tuned. I'll share all that information with you as I get through it. Also, we are beginning our work with the auditors. They'll be in next week. We've been providing them with information, and quite candidly, we are still fine-tuning some of the 18-19 funds, and we are still doing some adjusting entries. We just keep going back and double-checking. We're getting there. It's a slow process, but we are definitely getting there. I joke frequently, the ladies in the business office have been tremendous, and I keep reminding them that yes, we are, it's a snail's pace, but we are definitely making some progress, so we're getting there. Also, we're working on developing a little booklet I mentioned at the last meeting for the development of the 2021 budget. I am planning an October 4th secretaries meeting, and I am hopeful to have most of that information available to give out to both them and the administrators close to that period of time, and some slight changes to the way that the budget's going to be developed. Nothing major, but I think just hoping to streamline the process a little bit more, that's all. The other thing with regard to the 1920 budget, we are carefully monitoring it. We have made some just minor budget transfers between accounts. As you'll recall, the last meeting I mentioned that we did have a few accounts that were wiped out, unfortunately, and we've been able to mitigate those areas by finding money in other areas that we think we're okay moving. And I will share those with the board at the next meeting. I wanted it to go through the finance committee first, so we'll talk next month about that. Again, they really weren't significant. Also, the last thing I had, which I think is kind of important, is that Jen Stewart and I, special ed, continue to work very closely together. We meet every Friday, and as I've said before, that is the one area of the budget that we are really concerned about. I think you know that there was some reduction to it to try to get to where we need it to be for the budget overall. And we're just carefully monitoring it. It's all we can do. There's so many variables with that portion of the budget, particularly with how much excess cost money we're going to get back. In speaking with my colleagues, I am going to a CASBO meeting next week, and I love those opportunities because I kind of can gauge where all the other districts are at. The biggest concern that I'm hearing right now is with some of the state's financial concerns, that this year we got about 73%, actually Jen confirmed that for me, reimbursement for excess costs, which is really pretty good because it's been historically between 65 and like 72, but we don't know what this year will bring, so we're just a little bit concerned. But as I said, we're checking it on a weekly, if not daily basis, so I'll continue to report to everyone. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask, special ed population, sometimes it changes over the summer, people move in, move out. What did it stay steady?
So we've gained 12 students from June. So I monitor the numbers twice a month to kind of see where the numbers are at each school. So if you like, I can share that next month if you want, of how many students are at each school, and then I also track out of district in the VOAC and Magnet. I can bring that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I just want to double check on those numbers. I wouldn't want to say we have 5 kids at Clintonville, 3 kids.
You want me to just give you a total?
Yeah, because I don't think we can have it.
Or you can even do elementary.
We want that broken
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, elementary.
Or something.
Secondary.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Pam, excuse me, are our systems and collecting happening for the rental facilities and fields, are we all set and good to go?
Yes, we are in really good shape with that.
And people are paying?
Yes.
Do we have any idea how much that's brought into the district since in place?
Not exactly. I'm going to say perhaps about 8,000 or 9,000 so far, but just don't hold me to that number. I'll get you an exact number for the next meeting.
That'd be good.
You mentioned that you submitted the annual education financial system state report the week of August 25th. Is that something that I could get a copy of?
I'd be happy to give you the schedule. I don't know how helpful the information is going to be because of the way it's reported, but I'd be more than happy to send it to you. Okay.
And then, also, do you know how soon we should expect the 2018-19 fiscal year to be finalized? I know everybody's working really hard on it. I'm just looking at an ETA, maybe.
It's not officially finalized until the audit's complete, and that's not until late December. They have to, by statute, complete it by December 31st.
But our portion of it, without the audit being complete, are we done?
As far as we are done with our part, we're making some minor adjusting entries to general operating fund. We have like 15 funds. However, until the auditors are done, there could be some additional adjusting entries. That's the only potential issue.
I was also looking more closely at the budget, and I noticed that like the custodial and maintenance was a little over, which makes sense because of the recent lightning strike. Is that
for 1920?
Yeah, for 1920.
Okay.
I also was reading lots of posts on Facebook about how we're going to have the winter apocalypse this year. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But are we going to be in good shape if we do need to remove a lot of extra snow, if we do have a bad winter this year?
I think based on what our overtime costs were last year, and we did have savings, I'm cautiously optimistic that we have adequate money, but again, that's if we have an average, maybe slightly above average. If we have this horrific winter, I really don't know. And it depends when it falls, what day of the week. Is it the weekends when it's much more costly? If it's a Sunday night and trying to get people in on Monday, obviously it's going to cost us a lot more to have our custodians come in than it would if it was a Wednesday night. So there's so many variables, but overall, I'm cautiously optimistic we're going to be okay in those areas.
It's good to hear.
Yes, probably one of the few areas, but I think we're okay.
Last question is, is our bus contract up this year? Is that this year?
We have one more year.
One more
year, yes.
So the RFP will go out next summer?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Cool, thanks.
Okay.
Before going to public comments, which is our next part, I just want to ask, I'd like to read next month when at our meeting, our public comment policy. I don't need to repeat it all the time, but I think it's a good idea at the beginning of every school year, and I meant to call you today and mention that, just to just go over it, what our public comment policy is throughout the year as we come to budget time or different things that there. Anyway, with that said, is there any public comment tonight?
Hi.
Hi.
Do I have to say my name and address?
Yeah.
I'm Kim Braun Cohen, 55 Tokenie. The thought exchange is awesome. Thank you so much. I think it's wonderful, the platform that it is and is being used to kind of solicit feedback, and it was very easy and user-friendly and great to see other comments because it also fuels ideas, and so that was great. You can definitely see trends there too, so thank you guys. Education Foundation, the October 22nd J. Ruse Trivia Night will be tickets that we're selling. It's on the patio. And so I know that space is a little tight, so we will have more information probably after next week. And we're coming up with our own questions, not hiring an outside company to come in. What else? Oh, I wanted to ask Jen just what those days were for the September 25th and October 5th again. So what were the workshops?
September 25th is the freshman parent seminar.
Okay.
October 10th is how to pay for a college seminar. And the newsletter that was sent home should have all these dates. Did you?
I have elementary students.
Okay.
That's the proper law.
Okay.
But just to kind of align with what Joe was saying too, with the Education Foundation, is I think we're waiting to see how you guys approach Rebecca Carr first and the guidance office and kind of seek out what she's requesting she needs. And we've also gotten information from other, Debbie Villain's son is a college guidance expert at King's School in Stamford. And so he actually put together a narrated PowerPoint for us to share that I can also share with you guys if you want to look at that. And that's just his feedback and ideas and opinions on something that we could offer at the Education Foundation and fund, but we do want to work as a team with you guys. And then the last comment I'm also going to make is the band trip to Toronto. You mentioned being under a 501c3 for them to get funds. Have you considered reaching out to the foundation and doing it as like a discretionary fund so that it could be kind of, you can go underneath the foundation's 501c3 and then just make sure that it's discretionary for the, and it wouldn't be, I mean, it wouldn't be necessarily a grant application because we wouldn't need approval, but maybe there's a way that you could kind of feed under and pay through us and then we would just put the money back through.
Thank you for that suggestion.
Sure.
Thank you. We'll mention that at a meeting. Yeah, we'll pass it along to Russ and,
Okay. Thank you for that. That's good to know. Okay, any future agenda items anyone like outside of the things we talked about tonight to add to next month's meeting? Okay, with that, may I have a motion to enter into executive session to discuss matters pertaining to personnel, to propose evaluation structure for the superintendent of schools, and invite Patrick Sturck, our superintendent of schools, into the session.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Just yourself, all we need? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn the September 12th, 2019 Board of Education meeting?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
Nope.
Meeting was over. Thank you all. Have a great one.
Thank you, everyone.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the Town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.